Hello and welcome to the UnDateable Me Podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Lee Lard, the Sock Snob, and this is our weekly show that deals with the struggles of relationship and dating. And I do this alongside Holly DaBeamer. And we don't just talk about the problems around here. No, this is a journey to find solutions. We want to get to the bottom of this thing so we can get into some good, healthy relationships. And we do it in a very entertaining way. Entertaining because, you know, Holly over here with all these holes in her jeans, just holy. Just hallelujah, holy. All right. And today, that's probably going to come in handy because we are talking about getting back with your ex. Oh, yeah, I heard you. Is that a bad idea? I think so. All right, let's go.
See you hanging around, but I don't have much to say to you. Don't know what you're waiting for. Guess you think I'm playing with you. Ever since you walked out my door, I changed the locks on me. There ain't nobody getting I'm doing fine by myself, and I like it. I've been doing things by myself. You should try it. When we was together, how the did you have me gone? Now I'm by myself, and it feels good to be alone. Come on. Don't wanna be with you, but I'm gonna be okay. I kinda like myself. I kinda like myself. Don't wanna be with you, but I'm gonna be okay. I kinda like myself. I kinda like myself.
Oh, all righty. Holly. You know, we're talking about getting back together with an ex. And if we're going to do that, I have some questions. But before we do, I want to ask you, have you ever gotten back together with an ex?
Yes,
All right.
unfortunately.
Okay. More than once or? Okay. More than once with the same person or more than one ex that you've broken up with and gotten
Both.
back together? Oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to shut up. You know, you like that old nostalgia peen, I guess, you know. So when I think about that, my first question is, why the hell did we break up in the first place?
That's smart.
Because the way the human brain works, we often forget about him going upside your head and all of the bad stuff or whatever. The memories that we end up with are, you know, those nice things that happened, and you know, he can be sweet. And most people, even assholes have good moments. And then sometimes, you know, there are people who are assholes, but they are assholes to other people, but they treat you good. And then occasionally they went upside your head. I'm just playing. We need to stop with the going upside the head.
That happens.
It does happen. So, but somehow the human brain allows us to, you know, when we take that trip down memory lane, when you're sitting out on your balcony and you're looking out and like, I wonder what old Cleophas is doing.
Not Cleophas.
You know, and the reason I'm adding this topic, by the way, is because, you know, when we're talking about trying to get into a relationship, a healthy relationship, it is one of the options, you know, is, you know, somebody that you've already dated. There's some familiarity there. Like I said, you start thinking about the good times that you had and so on. So it's an option, and that's something that a lot of people probably have had to contend with and really explore. So that's why we're talking about it here. So you said you have now. Like I said, my first question is, well, why did we break up?
Right.
So did you have anything that was super severe as the reason you broke up, or was it just petty stuff or anything like that, or both?
Let me hit. You want me to be honest?
Oh my, oh Lord. I be scared when you say stuff like that.
It's bad. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, I broke up with my ex, well, my daughter's daddy, because I had went through his phone, and he had let a crackhead suck on his thing.
Oh,
and I was like, oh my God, no.
Yeah.
You know,
What? Okay. Was he a drug seller, by the way?
trying to be.
Was that okay? And was that how that situation came about?
How that transaction
How that?
happened.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I was like, I didn't put up with a lot of stuff. I didn't put up with brokenness, getting hit on, but crackhead sucking on a penile, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
My health is very important to me.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a whole bunch of other stuff too. Like, you know, but I think that at one point you just be like, look, I don't even want to argue no more. Please, just leave me alone. Just go your way. I'm gonna go my way.
Okay. So then eventually you end up getting back together. And like I said, my thing is, I want to first know why you broke up, in the first place. The other thing I think that's important, like if you're going to be getting back together with an ex, is how do we put some boundaries on this relationship, particularly related to the thing that caused us to break up.
Right.
So if it was, him getting a little head time from, the neighborhood crackhead as a condition of us getting back together, is this something that I no longer have to worry about? Was that was that sort of part of your thought process? Like,
It, you know what? Like I think you said.
what
like
was the crackhead
time.
on Friday? What was her name?
Felicia.
Yeah. Is this one of those where you say, "Look, as long as you ain't fooling with Felicia no more."
I took Felicia over that. Over what I saw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This was bad.
Oh God. Okay, I'm with you, but I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, I think over time you forget, like you say, and sometimes we make excuses too. Sometimes, like I saw something that said, like, we kind of look for closure in things, and it's really not closure. It's really just you giving that person enough time to come up with a good excuse so you can have a reason to take them back.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was that for me. I think that I don't know why. I ain't even gonna sit here and lie and say I had a reason. Just young, dumb, not thinking, prideful. That was a big thing. Familiarity.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Familiarity.
Familiarity. And
Yes, girl.
Oh, it was the worst decision ever.
Because you said it wasn't just Felicia. There were other things. So did some of those other things creep back in as well?
I never forget it. I knew the moment. I would never forget this. It was my daughter's birthday, and we got into it over a cake. And I sat there and I said, "You's a dummy, bitch. You's a dummy. You done sat here and got back with this man. Where's my shit? Because you know what?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's something clicks for you. Something clicks for you, and you just be like, why would you do that?
Right. Did you, going back, and obviously, at least from my perspective, if you've decided to get back in a relationship with somebody that you broke up with, and perhaps you've forgiven stuff or forgotten stuff, did you have greater expectations the second time around, or was it, I know this person's gonna do this thing again, but I'll give him a chance anyway?
With that particular situation, now I think that I was just angry at the relationship that I was currently in, and it was just, like I say, easy just to fall back into those bad habits, into those, bad patterns.
Yeah. And like I said before, the familiarity is a big component of it. It's, at least, sometimes it's better the devil than you don't, right? So we sometimes fall into that trap very easily. But
Yes.
I get it. I'm not one who is very likely to go back to an ex.
It can work out sometimes.
It can work out. You are absolutely right. And, we've seen some relationships that are, I don't know if you would call them healthy or successful, but, we've seen those on again, off again relationships that go on for years.
Yes.
Years and years and years. And, more power to them. But in my opinion, I don't have time for that type of headache, because I'm assuming that, you probably start, maybe it's good for a while, and then you start to see some of those patterns repeat
That
again.
click.
Yep. So, for me, I've come close. Now, I've been friends. I was able to be friends with exes.
Yeah.
Except for a couple. But, I've been able to be friends with exes, but I don't even know what I was expecting. I did meet up with an ex a couple years ago, and I don't know what the expectation was. So we hadn't communicated anything to the effect of, hey, let's try this again. It was more of, hey, you're going to be in town, we should get together type thing or whatever,
Fill it out.
Fill it out, right. And then once there, did I talk about this last season?
I think a little bit.
Yeah. Once I got there, I'll just say there was a little, I don't know if it was just awkward for him or what, but it was a little coldness there or, not talking a lot. And I was like, let me get the hell up out of here.
Because this ain't working.
Because this is not working, Glad to see you doing okay. Whatever.
Right.
Good to see the family because I saw some of his family there or whatever. But, apparently this, and again, we didn't have any sort of, talk about what this was going to be. And I had no real intentions of this turning into that. I was just like, oh yeah, we can get together or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's that. But
did you look forward to it? Like, okay, well maybe.
Yeah, I was actually looking forward to seeing him because even when, particularly in, I've never had big, volatile issues or cheating issues or things like that as the cause of the breakup to begin with. Because like I said, my first question is going to be, well, why did we break up in the first place?
Right.
Mine was more of, there were some character traits that he had that I didn't like.
Moral things.
Particularly not being the nicest to people sometimes, that would pop out, or just being mean and rude or to people. And the other issue was surrounding sort of like feeling like I was taken for granted. Not that, remember when I was saying before, when I was saying in another episode, just feeling like they expected you to do certain things or whatever, rather than being appreciative of those things. That's really what that was. So it seemed like those are things, and also some time had gone by, a few years. People grow, people mature, so you don't know what to expect. Now, if it was something where we used to fight like cats and dogs, if there was infidelity and all of that, then that would be a whole other thing.
That's your cutoff.
Because me? Shit. All right. I may not be the finest person walking around. I may not be the biggest catch, but I know my worth and I know what I'm not going to do.
That's true.
So that wouldn't have worked anyway. But for something like that, where there were sort of character issues that people can work on or grow out of and things like that. And by the way, I don't know if I shouldn't call him.
Yes, you can.
Motherfucker. I don't know if he worked on those things and has grown past them, or I don't know.
Yeah, because sometimes
I may never know.
Yeah, you can leave a person and they really sit back and realize like, oh, well, maybe I do need to change this. I done lost something good. And it came back around and it just wasn't it.
But I do think that if you're going to go that route, there has to be a lot of communications and communication, and you need to be clear about what it is and what it ain't. If it was, good peen or good booty, and that's just what it is, then hey, we need to, let's just hook up, let's whatever, we had some good times in that department or what, I don't know.
Right.
But I would be very clear and straightforward but this ain't, the relationship, because I know you ain't fixed this, and this, or whatever. So, so I think that there has to be, you have to be very clear on those types of things.
Okay.
And again, particularly if there are things surrounding the breakup that are unresolved or whatever, I would say you would have to make sure you set those boundaries up front. Like, look, what I'm not going to put up with is, just so you know, you know how you used to ... Yeah, no, it's not going to work. And not even 3 strikes you out. First time, I'm gone.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So I think that, you have to, and by the way, you have to set those boundaries, but you have to be able to compromise as well. A lot of times I think that we forget that we had a role in what didn't go well. So if that is the case, now don't get me wrong, sometimes it was just stuff that they did. But if there were things that you did that contributed, you have to be honest with yourself. Have I fixed those things?
That's true.
So otherwise, like I said, you're going to end up in the exact same situation all over again, just like it happened the first time. So, and are there any sort of habits or triggers that would, set you off or whatever that they used to do that got on your every nerve,
Right.
So I would consider all of those things before I was getting back with somebody. And like I said, be clear in the communication as well. So the other thing is our hearts. I don't want to say I'm not an emotional person. I think that people, although it's a spectrum, I think that people, the way they come to decisions come in one or two ways. But again, there's a spectrum. On one end of the spectrum is a very logic-driven person, and on the other end is emotional. And most people are somewhere along there. So a more emotional driven person, they remember the good times and all of that. And I think a more logic driven person is like, yeah, I remember when that bitch blah, 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 or whatever. You know what I mean? So I am more of a logic driven person. And there's nothing wrong with people who make decisions based on emotions.
Right.
I have, and you know him, I have a good friend, and he was trying to find a new cell phone company. And so I'm talking on the phone with him, and he was like, yeah, I talked to AT&T, and, I was talking to the representative, and, I don't know, I just got a bad vibe from her. So, I was trying Verizon, and you're going to laugh when I tell you who it is afterwards. But anyway,
Okay.
He's like, yeah, I was trying Verizon. I said, who got the best fucking deal?
Right.
You not going to be sitting in the living room braiding each other's hair?
We're not going to talk to this person ever again, probably.
Again. So, and it was like, oh, I didn't think about, no, we're not making this type of decision over no, emotions and vibes and all that. No, sir. And this person, by the way, is very in tune spiritually and all of that. But my thing is, and this is why they say opposites attract, and the plus parts of that, sometimes you need, if you are, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with an emotion-driven person, and I'll talk about that when I say sometimes you need that other person. If you are a person who, like in his case, was doing that, sometimes you need that logic-driven friend, me,
right,
to say, if you don't stop making your decision over blah, 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 and you know damn well this phone company is $30 more than the other one, but because of a person you would never talk to again, you didn't connect with them, you know what I
Right.
mean? And likewise, as a logic-driven person, I may miss the emotional aspect of something, and I might need you to say, you were right, but
Right.
that person probably feels like shit because you just did ... or whatever. You go, oh
Right.
crap, I didn't even mean that, or I didn't realize that. So in life we need both,
True.
and if you are in my opinion, a lot of the people who end up back in relationships with exes they probably lean more to that emotional driven decision making or whatever.
Yeah.
If you are that person, it might be a good idea to get a second opinion.
That's true.
Call that good girlfriend
Call your good
that's
girl.
going to tell you what it is and what it ain't.
Bitch, remember when he
I
did this?
am that good girlfriend that you need to call.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, because just like you said, I'd be like, so you forgot that knot he put on your head.
Yes.
Oh, so you forgot when he stole your car, or he took that money out your mama's purse. Like the
child.
stuff we forget and overlook. I'm like,
Yes.
are you serious? Or I should say, y'all.
I not get that.
Because
I think I'm
not
emotionally, but then once I start drinking some liquor and I start feeling myself, baby, I'm logic as fuck.
right. So, I just think that if you do lean in that direction, get a second opinion and careful. Remember in season 1, I said, you have to be careful about who you tell your business to and all that. Not everybody can handle your business, and not
True.
everybody is, qualified to give you advice on stuff. Because some
yes.
people, you're telling them what happened and they will have you in jail, because they're like, girl, we can go down there then. Or
Damn,
whatever,
that's me.
Right, I know.
I would do that.
Right. So, it's a good idea to be selective about who you have.
And we know
as
who to
that
call
person.
too. We know which one of our friends gonna give us what type of
Right.
advice we really want to hear.
Right. And what I was about to say is that sometimes you will purposely call the one that's going to hype you up to do the thing that you really want to do.
Yeah.
So, but again, I would say just make sure you're being very careful about who you get assistance from, because like I said, everybody ain't qualified to help you. Some of them ain't in some bad situations themselves.
Yep.
And you can't even see your way out of your situation, let alone help me with mine. And, don't pass on the idea of seeking professional help too. So sometimes that might be what you need, somebody who is truly objective.
Right.
And, is not invested personally in it. With our friends, they care about you a lot. Mm-hmm. And, they might be angry about the situation you're bringing to their attention and all of that stuff. Same thing we've said before. You've told all your friends, how he slapped you, he did this, and now you right back with him. And now you
we
sitting at the
looking
family
crazy.
reunion looking crazy with everybody giving you the side eye. They want to beat his ass and they want to slap the shit out of you, or really they over there like, she's stupid as hell. Look at her, she right back with him.
That's me talking to somebody. Look at her dumb ass. I've grown, so I can.
So yeah. So, but regardless, like I said, first question: why we break up in the first place? We need to visit that, and
Be
then
honest.
after that, and be honest, because first of all, lying to yourself ain't gonna hurt nobody but you. So, but figure out if this is possible. Have clear communication. Try and lay out those boundaries. Protect yourself. Protect your heart. Protect your mind, and all of that, so that you don't end up in a situation where you about to jump off a bridge over this fool.
Right.
So. But yeah, overall, like I said, for me, it's usually one thing about me. I don't know. For the most part, I ain't going backwards. And not just in relationships, That's one of those things where if I left a job making $35 an hour and I've moved up to something making $55 an hour,
Can't go back.
what I look like going back to a job making $25 an hour
That's
or
true.
whatever. And same thing with relationships. I ain't got to spend the block. I'm going to keep on riding because there's something better up the street.
Do you think that comes with maturity too? Because I think we had this conversation too before. Like what we used to take back then, damn for sure won't go for
Hello,
now.
that part. Although I probably wouldn't have did it back then either, but nonetheless, yeah. With all things, we learn and we grow. Yeah. Another thing, I've said I've never been the type of person who needs to fall off of a cliff to know not to get so close to the cliff. I am an observer of life, and when I see that Jordan drove off a cliff. Then Holly drove off a cliff. I ain't fucking with cliffs. What I look like,
type of cliffs.
So I don't have to live it and experience. Some people have to go through it. And nope, I saw you drive off a cliff.
Right.
So that's all I need. So I don't know. I can take it with a grain of salt, but I'm good in that department.
I see
But again, we learn as we go, and things that, like you said, things that you would accept and put up with 10 years ago, I ain't got time for right now.
Yeah.
So maybe not that specific thing, but in other areas, I'm not gonna waste my time. And you now can recognize patterns or things that people do where you're like, I see where this is going. Yeah, this ain't gonna work.
That
It was
click.
nice knowing. Did you say click?
That click.
Oh, girl, I was about to say, what the hell?
Not that click, but
So, but yeah, so that's my take on it. I want to know why we broke up, and then can we put some boundaries around this thing where that situation that occurred before does not pop up again.
So you've never spent the block?
Never.
Oh my God.
Nope.
Not even just on some fun shit, like just for a little while.
No. Now.
Jimmy, you are a non-toxic relationship person.
I don't do toxic at all. I just don't see the point. I have never had an argument in a relationship.
What?
Because I don't see the point of arguing. The person I am working with right now, we were literally just talking about this because he's the same way. I don't see the point in arguing. If you say blue and you say yellow, what are we arguing about? Eyes green, bitch. That's all it is, what are we arguing about? And then if there is something serious where there's a true disagreement where we truly don't see eye to eye, people don't know how to disagree healthy.
That's true.
Healthily, right? So we're sitting here having a disagreement about A, and then you got to bring up B that happened 6 years ago. Or, that's why I'm tired. That's why your musty ass mama be coming over here with blah, blah, blah. You be like, whoa, you just going to stick the knife in and turn it? Right?
So how do you get over that? Because I swear I would do. I tried not to argue, but I have to say what the fuck I got to say.
So here is how I think it should go. And I'm no expert. I'm just a fat dude in Wisconsin, right? But from my perspective, I say it starts with intention from the very beginning. Any now going into a relationship, one thing I established with them up front is, listen, there are going to be times where we don't agree on something. I need you to know right now, I have no intentions whatsoever of ever saying something, doing something to hurt you. I have your good intentions in mind. So
Right.
if I'm telling you, look, it's not a good idea for you to go and buy a new $60,000 Mercedes and you work at KFC. I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying that because it don't make sense. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'm trying to help you. I'm not doing anything out of malice. I'm not, trying to, like I said, I'm not going to stick that knife in and turn it, because like I said, I there's no need for that. You know, that whole Michelle, when they go low, we go high or whatever. The other day I had a friend who said, when you go low, I go snake dick. I said, what? I said, somebody posted, they were like, yeah, I don't know anything lower than that. But,
Right.
that's that thing we do because the intent is not to resolve the disagreement that you're having. It's to, you said, did, or whatever this to me.
Right.
Well, now I'm about to say this, and I hope it hurt when I say it or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't have that type of intention ever. So, and like I said, from the start of the relationship on. Now, like I said, we can disagree, but what are we raising our voices and arguing for?
Because I said what I now let me stop.
See?
I get it. I truly get it. I think that finding a way to argue and you're right. Maybe I am an emotional person. You're so logic, Jimmy.
I am because, like I said, I've been in a relationship years ago, and this girl, she was one who wanted to, pop off and all of that. It would piss her off so bad. I would be sitting there just as calm, still doing whatever I'm doing. I'm not engaging in it. I'm just not. You will argue with yourself fooling with me and piss yourself off even more because I'm not going to engage in it.
I think I feel that way when I know I'm right about something, and I just be like, okay. If I'm tired of it, I'd be like, okay, whatever. Like it is what it is. Okay.
Yeah, my big, because for me, all that cheap drama and theatrics and all of that, what does that accomplish? It's just wasted energy. My question is, okay, well, this is where we are. Now, how do we fix it? Or what do we do to
Problem
whatever? You
solve.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the step I'm focused on and worried about. I don't give a damn about you trying to blow off your steam from you being upset about blah, 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 whatever,
So you never been angry and been like,
Of course, I've gotten angry about stuff, but again, I have to be, first of all, I have to, when they say, to whom much is given, much is required, meaning if you are blessed in a certain way or whatever, it comes with responsibility.
okay.
I am blessed with the ability to read the fucking eyeballs off a hoe. And because of that, I have to stop because I know I could easily hurt somebody's feelings.
Right.
If I was even in jest, even when we're just joking around, I literally have to eliminate, like if we're going back and forth being funny, I have to eliminate like the first 3 or 4 thoughts that came to mind
Oh my
and say the
God.
5th thing because that's the one that's not going to have your ass over here crying.
Right.
So I choose to not unleash on people or whatever. Like they say, you ain't got read till you got read by old gay man. You know what I'm saying? So don't play, because I hurt your feelings. But I choose not to because I know that will hurt some feelings.
I need you to know that it's gonna hurt your feelings.
Now, many, many, many years ago, when I was in high school, when, like I didn't give a damn, I would say the shit that you'd be like, damn, did you have to go there? Bitch shouldn't have opened her mouth, or whatever, right? But no, I'm very conscious of how I make people feel, and I don't want to do that. Like I said,
malice.
even if we're playing, I will probably eliminate those first 2 or 3 things. And if you're in a relationship with somebody, I truly love this person. If
Right.
I'm in love with someone, why is that the person I want to hit with a jab, you know,
That's true.
the sharpest punch. You know, nah, I don't need to do that. So, and I'm one of those people who I'm okay with a win in my head. I don't have to have you acknowledge it or whatever, you know. I'd be just as low key or whatever. Now, you know, I have flown all over in first class. So I was boarding a flight, and I was actually waiting on somebody else, but they had called for, you know, first class boarding. So I had come up, but I was still waiting, you know, for my friend to get there until she arrived. And this lady is trying to explain to me how first class boarding works or whatever, you know. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, this is somebody who was spent 27 years in the airline industry, in learning and development, no less, by the way. But I didn't have to say, ma'am, I've been doing this, or ma'am, whatever. I just, oh, okay, oh, thank you, or whatever.
You just sit there and let that lady talk and make a fool of herself.
Didn't bother me. Didn't cost me nothing. Whatever, you know. Let her feel good about her damn self.
Right.
You know, and you just be like, alrighty then. You know, and this bitch was in coach. So did all that, and you got to go back to 33B. So,
Oh my God.
you know, whatever. Right. So I don't have that need to gloat or whatever. And in most cases, like I said, I will spare somebody's feelings rather than if it's somebody I'm in love with. Right. If you are a stranger on the street and you've taken it too far, the only people I usually check on the spot or read are people who are being rude to people who are less privileged or in the service industry or something like that. That was one ex in particular that I couldn't deal with, you being rude to waiters and waitresses and stuff like that or whatever. And it would take everything in me. Because for anybody else, because like I said, that's the one time when I will step in and read your fucking toenails off. But I would have to say, you know what, this is a person you love. I could simply say, that was rude, you know, or that wasn't nice. You know, you didn't have to say that to her or whatever. You know, that's the route I would choose to go. You know, not, I know you didn't when your blah 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 got blah blah or whatever, you know.
Right.
So I don't have to do all the things. So
He's so mature.
I'm old. I'm old, so that's what mature is, or in some aspects. But you know, I've been here a long time, so I've observed. Even as a kid, I observed everything. I was always around adults for some reason, and I just observed whatever, you know, and I was lucky enough to have some wise people in my life. My father was very wise, you know. Now, he had a bad temper and drank a lot, but he was very wise and gave great advice to people. And I would hear the advice he would give to people, you know, my grandmother and so on. So, you know, you pick up some stuff along the way.
That's good. So. Why can't people just be good people? If everybody just be a good person do what they're supposed to do, then we will all be in love and we will all have somebody to be with.
Yeah, but nope, you know, people wake up like they used to say and choose violence, choose to be, you know, in a lot of cases, if they would use that same energy they use to be buttholes, and use it for good, think about how much better off this world would be. So
now I got to cut you. You know, but
I can't.
But being a logical person,
yes,
you just learn to walk away,
right?
And have those what you say, the little wins in your head.
The little wins in your head. I've truly learned how to laugh at somebody in my head, and I could have the straightest face, and I'd be looking like, you know, sitting here like this dumb bitch or whatever, you know. So whatever, and have the straightest face ever. So it's just not worth it to me, you know. I'm what do they call it, like low vibrational energy? I ain't got time for. So and also I can excuse myself in instances like if my partner is one who maybe has habits or whatever that I don't participate in, and every now and then they go low, I can step back, have your low moment over there, and then when you back up, I'll see you tomorrow and whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm okay with that. I know people aren't perfect, and I know that people go through stuff, that people have vices and all sorts of other things.
Right.
I don't have to do the low part with you.
Man, so just haven't gotten back on the I'm still floored over that. But you know what? That's good, because then you think about it sometimes that people that got back with exes and they ain't here no more, or they put themselves in bad situations.
Yep.
Now they locked up,
Absolutely.
and you just be there like, I knew I shouldn't have done this.
Right.
I knew this was wrong.
And a lot of times you had that thought, along the way anyway. So.
Yeah, we be knowing.
Right.
We be our own worst enemy.
Right. You want to listen to your heart instead of your mind, go ahead, That thing will get you in trouble every time. No, I'm just playing. But, I don't know. We learn, we grow, we move on. So, all right. Well, this has been another episode of the UnDateable Me Podcast. And hopefully you are subscribed to us on YouTube at Stop Films and click on the podcast tab, or on all of the podcast platforms. Check us out and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, we thank good old Holly for hanging out with us as you. I say that like she's not the permanent co-host here, but
Okay,
I
say
just
that
like to
again,
make
Jimmy.
her. You are. I just like her to make her feel like she's a special guest every time. All right. So thanks for watching. We'll check you out next time.
Don't forget to subscribe.